Hello and welcome to our podcast, Lift Me Up. My name is Valerie.
My name is Borut.
Today it's a special episode. We are gonna go now on a road. So because we want to be safe, we will just put a still image and you can listen to us while we are driving.
Yeah. Although, I made my hair. So, now it's like useless. I don't know.
Yeah, so today the reason why we are on the road,
A special reason.
is that it's our first meeting with the architects for our new home.
Yeah. We are building a house and it's so many steps. But one of the most important and one of the first steps is actually to meeting an architect, and he will listen to our ideas, our wishes, our compromises, and so it's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, so in today's episode we will talk about what makes a home and about our experiences in the past, how we were living in different spaces, but how we made ourselves feeling at home.
Wish us luck. Good luck. Okay, Valerie, what does home mean to you? Is this just a place? Is this a space? Is this a time? What is a home for you?
Home is, for me, a place I like to return after all day of working or being outside doing different chores. But the most important thing is that in that place where I return, that I feel like safe, comfortable, I would say familiar, and definitely with some of my rearrangements, like how I want it to be. So, for example, in the past I was living in different hotels, I was traveling a lot, and I noticed that I started to make a home if I was living in one place for more than 3 months. So up to 3 months I always felt I'm just a visitor, but if I stayed longer than 3 months, I already started to feel like home, but still in like broader sense of what home means to me is just more permanent place, not temporary, but somewhere I really want to stay. I want to belong in a way, and create a family. I would say this is kind of my sense of home. And for you?
For me, it's actually a realization how home is a fluent and untangible term. I'm talking about through my experience of my life, but also at the moment, or not only in the moment, the last couple of years, the oldest daughter, Luchka, is studying in Holland, in Netherlands, and she's also changing places many times, and she once said, I know that like in Slovenia that's not my home anymore, and I said, well, yeah, that's true, but she doesn't have really a home because she's moving often due to the circumstances and obligations. So, and also when I'm looking back in my life as a student, it was very similar in the sense of home not being a little bit uprooted and very, very undefined. And this is actually a part of growing up. You are as a young child, as a child, and when you're growing up, you have to leave the nest. And when you leave the nest, you're looking for a place called home. And that's you said 3 months. I usually stayed longer because when I was studying, I stayed longer. But home, especially in the context of today, when we are driving to see an architect, is really opening more questions than giving answers. So, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think also if I think about my past experiences, it's one thing is that you feel at home somewhere as individual, but then creating a home as a partnership, as a family, I think that's another step. So that is, well, actually very important, not just, for individual, but making safe space, and not just safe, but like productive, thriving, I think motivational in a way for also like kids, and especially when you're thinking about having babies and all that stuff. I think it's important that parents try to make a thriving environment as possible, so younger generation can have a better, not better, but good starting position. Yeah,
better position, of course.
So I think that is also a really important part of home, but not in terms of just materialistic things, because of course there's many levels of how much wealth somebody has, but like creating place for dialogue, for like good energy, and all of that. It doesn't matter if you live in a huge mansion or just a little wooden house. I think the essence of a home is like really this great energy for the whole family to return. So that's something very important for me.
Yeah, talking about the essence of a home, it always come. I don't know where is this wisdom came from. But basically, the essence of every space, every house, every storage room, every villa, every yacht, every car, everything that people are inside is basically an empty space. It's not the four walls and what kind of roof does it have or what kind of engine this has, but basically it's a space that you sit inside and you take your space, your place. And this is something that's very, very interesting to me. And more I think about, the less I know, and that's how it should be, because the essence is very untangible, very conceptual. Just imagine to have a house and you build the best walls and the most beautiful walls and all most expensive materials, but there is no place for you to be inside. They're just like expensive things. and this is something that it opens more questions than give answers, but it is something that when you step inside, that you feel like it's something beyond five senses, beyond the point that you're stepping in. Is more like circumstances. It's more like a what should we call, like kind of like a balance of life at that moment. Either are you studying, are you there, or at the moment that we are thinking about what kind of materials we will use, what kind of house will it be, how many square meters, and so on. So talking about that, we cannot talk much about the essence of a house, of the empty space that is inside in the middle of the house, but we can talk about the walls. So what kind of walls will your dream house or our dream house have? What do you what do you think on that?
Well, in terms of material, I don't really care so much. It's as much, just want it to be really appropriate for the environment we are in, so it means stable enough and strong enough to sustain the weather, like extreme heat, and also kind of strong winters, cold winters. So that's something I care about. So the whole build is of course strong enough, but then like what kind of walls would I like to have inside the house? It's like, packed with some memories, with some photographs, and not too crowded, because I also agree that empty space is kind of important. So here I maybe can mention that, at least for me, what matters a lot is that the whole family, like the community living inside a home respects the home and takes care of the home, like we would take care of each other. So I think taking care of the common spaces and that we all feel good and comfortable, I think that's really important. And also to actually like have some kind of order, or having things tidy. That I think for me it's very important, because if you come inside a house which is completely messy and dirty, I think it tells a lot about also the energy of the house. I noticed often, like in my friend's house, when everything is so chaotic, also the house looks chaotic and not just their life. It kind of reflects the whole scene.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that, and this was also one of my challenges when I started living together with Valerie. She gave she put a lot of the rules on the table that I wasn't familiar with, and but to her credit, she took not only that. I mean, on principle, I totally agree, right? Who would not agree that a clean and tidy house is better than messy and all around? I agree, totally. And I said, okay, I want to do that. I want to improve on that field. And I must say, I have to give her recognition that her patience with me was quite substantial. For instance, one of the stuff that didn't even cross my mind is how after I get up from the table, I have to push the chair back. I said, are you kidding me? No. I said, well, it's here. No, it has to be back. And she said, of course, it's basic bon ton. I said, well, my name is Borut, it's not bon ton. So, and I'm not basic.
Yeah, but when you walk, for example, in the kitchen, and if all the chairs are randomly rearranged around the space, it looks messy. But if it's behind the table, then it's kind of, even if just a small detail, but it completely transforms the energy of the room. And it's a thing, you also learn in like corporate world. When you leave the meeting, you always push the chair back. I have many years of practice.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I'm not I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm just saying that new rules was applied, and actually I agree with you. Like I want to take care of the house better, and the thing is that the most annoying, you recognize your own patterns when somebody else is doing them. So when I started to prepare a workspace in a carpentry workspace in a garage, it was quite challenging for me, because everything was laying around without any order, without structure and so on, and that was actually pretty stressful to work with that. And I totally agree with you about that.
Yeah, I had a period in my life also while I was traveling and moving places and all that. I didn't pay attention to, having any order or structure or whatever. So I was just randomly throwing things around, and I had my suitcases always packed, and when I returned home, I just didn't have energy to unpack. I just left it somewhere, and slowly I was taking things out whenever I needed, and I was living out of the bags basically. But this was also reflecting in the places I was in, like in my room, in my kitchen, or I was sharing a lot of places with roommates. So I think living with roommates taught me a lot about how to appreciate other people's personal space and common places. For example, if I walked, I think the biggest lesson for me was living last time with the roommates. They were not really tidy, and I was really upset when I came in the kitchen and it was such a mess that I couldn't even make myself a coffee. It was like food was rotting and like horrible. And then I realized it's important to always take care of the place, because even if I come, I'm tired because I was working all day, and when I come home I just want to make something, like cook something, and if it's a whole kitchen is packed with things, I don't even have appetite. But I learned that through my roommates, they were not taking care of the kitchen, so I didn't feel really at home in that space. I remember a lot how this influenced my later approach to taking care of the things. And I was always feeling anxious and busy, and like everything is, of course, there's so many things in my life, so many projects, I have my head full. But I realized if I start to take care of the place, that it's kind of tidy, at least one big thought about the space, is taken out of the equation, and I can focus more than on the things I'm doing, and not just like figure out where I left my keys and throwing things around to start finding them. If everything has its own place, it's kind of a calm situation.
Yeah, I'm also like, since we live together, I don't think I ever tried to find my keys. I always knew where they are, which is pretty amazing. And I must say that I'm thankful to your roommates who are messy, who have been messy. Why? Because now, before you arrive home, for me it's normal to just empty the dishwasher and prepare some other stuff, bake bread and stuff, and
always tidy the bed.
And tidy the bed and this kind of stuff. This is like, for me, very natural. I've done it even before, but the best thing is when Valerie sees that, I say, "Oh my God, you did this," and I don't know if she's joking or not, but I'm playing along and I'm feeling like I'm the king. I emptied the dishwasher and I put it inside, but put the dishwasher in, like and I vacuum cleaned the floor. Ta-da!
Important.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that the whole household is, equally distribute from people living inside. So also I would expect from the kids to help. I see in my friends' places where they have their kids do the houseworks, like wash the clothes, fold the clothes, all that, very young age on. All those kids grew up in really amazing young adults. So I think it takes a lot of, like, not just instant gratification, but later on they become really strong adults who know how to do their life, basically, the basic chores. Because I also met a couple of people during my life, also I was in a relationship with them, and they couldn't even cook, like being 40 years old and not even know how to wash their clothes and all that stuff. They were completely normal, capable people, but I think some people with disabilities have more capability than those people. So I think it's important that we start teaching kids, not just by forcing them, but being an example, and then, together creating really pleasant space to be in. And this creates, I think, a healthy home for the whole family.
Yep, that's what we are doing. That's the plan. So let's talk a little bit. Let's finish this podcast with the concrete wishes for our house. We decided we will not have a cellar. We will not have a, basement. We will not have a basement. Why?
Yeah, we are living in one place which is kind of, there's been floods around, and also it makes a lot more expensive, the whole project. We still need to keep, the funding up to a certain level, so making a basement is really expensive. But I think it's okay. We will just build 2-story smaller house, 2 floors. It's going to be a few kids' room in the top with our master bedroom, and in the bottom it's going to be big kitchen. That's very important, because we love to host people and we enjoy company. And I think home is around the kitchen. It happens around cooking, around feeding each other, and I think that's what makes the house, like the heart of the house.
Yeah, this kind of stuff we have to decide in front. Let's say, for instance, not to have a basement. That's good because, well, this is like important decision. I mean, you know, also not only the floodings, you know, which will happen, and they do happen, and they will be even worse than they are now. But we are expecting that also humidity will be less. You know, if we raise the first level up to the or zero ground level, like 20 centimeters above the road. So this kind of stuff, you know. And also we talked about how many working rooms we will have, that I will have my studio and stuff. And then I thought, you know what, I just want to have like a small workshop so I can make some tools, and I mean I can make some, you know, furniture or whatever. I don't want to have too big because, you know, I'm renting a nice place. I want to have, and you have also another nice place, and we have also, you know, also your father has a nice garage and everything. Anyway, we have plenty of, in our family we have plenty of space, so that's why we decided that we will not make like a mega big house. Also today is really expensive. No, not to mention the costs. And you know, I think this is kind of like a basic house with some what is it called? Some space for tools and you know, yeah. So this is basically our goal, and then we will see how it will go. You know, this house will have a nice a terrace. Terrace for us is very important. Outside kitchen is very important. So this we will use through whole year, I believe, and this kind of stuff, right? And then we have like a small garden, like a meditation garden, with few, but not even that. You know, your mom has a nice plot where we can grow whatever we want. Is that true?
Yeah, just like for starters, I think it's good to have a herb garden, and then later on we will see if we can maybe grow more. It's important to keep some land around, so it's nice that we still, after the house will be built, there will still be a few like green patches around, so it has a lot of potential also to add later on some additions. But it's good, at least I usually, when I was making myself home anywhere I was living, I always started not everything at once, but you know, step by step, and then you see what you need. I think it's important that you start living in this house, for example, that we all move, and then we will see according to our needs if we need to build that. What else do we need to build? So I think that is the most practical way of creating a home.
Yeah, building a house in today's time is really totally different than our parents had. You know, now it's like, you know, the middle class doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's only the 1 or 2% of the, you know, the rich. They have the all the money, and now we all have to struggle. And well, not to complain too much, you know, like, we're gonna struggle, and that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, but still, if we like check today's renting places, it's much more expensive than owning. If you can get a mortgage, I think it's actually better to have a mortgage than to rent a place, and at the end it's not even yours. And some of my friends who were living in some of the places they were renting, after years they had to move out suddenly because, I don't know, the owners decided after 10 years to sell the renting property. So that was kind of a big shock and a stress. So at the end, I think it's much more pleasant feeling to be living in a place that you know it's yours, physically yours, and safe and all that, and living under other conditions. So that's a good thing. But of course, if you're not really a millionaire, it's always difficult because of the costs. But we will also try to make energy efficient house. So I think also cost-wise, with all the heating and all the things, I think it will be great because it's gonna be built completely new with the latest material, and it's shown a lot on the utility bills.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned a home as a place of safety, and now we also talked about how not many people can afford their own home, so they can have maybe a flat that to rent, and that's what it is. And I think that's why also there are very little people. I mean, more and more people are decided not to have kids because that's to have kids you have to have a home, you have to feel the safety of the home and a space where you can brought up these kids. And this is one of the very important, this foundation of every cell of the family, not only us or not only our parents, everybody like in the past felt like that. And it takes a lot of courage, especially in today's time. But I'm very happy that I have you, that I'm embarking on this project together with you, Valerie.
Yes, it's just the start of many more years living in that house. It's still gonna take months to be built, but I feel great because now we finally are on the way for this first important meeting, and then the paperwork and bureaucracy, at least in Slovenia, it's really annoying bureaucracy, but I think in general in Europe, I think we started to complicate with all the little details and costs which are adding already at the beginning. But I already see the light at the end of the tunnel, so we have to go through that together and support each other on the way.
Yes, we definitely do that. And you feel okay to finish this podcast? So wish us luck. We wish you luck if you are in a similar position. And if you think about it, I think it's definitely, it's not only a personal choice, it's also choice of a partner and also of wife or husband, and also the future or current kids.
Yeah, really, if you're thinking about it, make the next step. Of course, if you feel comfortable with your partner and starting a family, I think it's of course really important step, but it needs to be done. And well, if you really want to create a legacy behind you, I think that's the only logical next step, that you step up and do this for you and your kids.
Yeah. I wish you happy and a very enjoyable reproduction.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, leave us a comment, and we will talk after the meeting with our next team of the podcast next Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.